Hello, D-Ray's Garage fan. Thanks for tuning in for another episode here. I went autocrossing yesterday, and my very first video was me autocrossing, and that was only my second time out. And it struck me yesterday, maybe you've been thinking about autocrossing, or maybe you're new to it. And what I'd love to do is dispel any myths you have about how intimidating it might be. You've got to have these high performance cars, and all of the other notions that may be flashing through your mind. I won't cover all bases, but I'll certainly give you some key tips to be ready for when you're willing to turn the key, get behind the wheel, and take on some cones. Hang tight, I'm going to show you how it's done. Believe it or not, one of the most important aspects as you start out is an empty car. So, as you can see here, the trunk is empty. And while you're racing, that's going to be a critical element of this. So, before you get there, however, you need to put some stuff in. Let me show you what goes in for the perfect day of autocrossing. First up, we have a tire pressure gauge. Now this isn't just any tire pressure gauge. Whoop, put it in this picture might be better. This is a tire pressure gauge with a pressure release button. So what you'll find is, and just go to the experts that have done this a few times, what you'll find is this little knob here, useful tool. You can find them on Amazon for about $20, I want to say. This is so you can let your pressures down, get more rubber on the road, get more grip. If it's your first time out, you may not want to get too cute with this, but this is a tool that you're going to see everybody out there having on hand, and presumably you could borrow one, but failing that, be useful to have one in hand. Next up, especially if you get cute with the first item, is the air station pump. Now, you probably all have some version of a pump, be it a hand pump or a different controlling unit. This one does have a cigarette lighter version, so you can plug it into your cigarette lighter in your vehicle, because presumably you'll need power. I have seen some way cooler ways to get your inflation back up, but for me, this is what I have for now. I've seen some deals that look a lot like drills, and at some point in the future, I suspect I'll go down that path. But if you are going to let your tires down, make sure that when you're headed home, you have a means to get them back up again. This next item is an infrared thermometer. Now, I haven't got to the point where, as you can tell, I haven't even taken it out of the package, and I've had 3 autocross days. But when I was buying the pressure release valve, I picked this up as well, probably through our friends at Amazon. And this is so you can check the temperature of your tires, because what some guys do is they'll bring out water pumps and they'll spray down their tires after a run to cool their rubber off. Again, not pretending to be the expert here. I've seen those out there. I do not expect you would need that at point 1. This next item may be more familiar to most of you, yet often overlooked at this, is water, H2O. You will be expected to do what is called work at most of these events, be it that you follow an SCCA or a PCA event, and as such, you'll be standing out on the course, potentially in weather conditions that are not ideal, be they too hot, too cold, too wet, whatever. And when you're stood out watching people, keeping people safe like they are for you while you're driving, little H2O can become useful. And you probably expect to be there a good 7 or 8 hours, believe it or not, all that for your 10 to 15 minutes of driving time. So be prepared. If you're a snack muncher, make sure to take some snacks too. They'll come in handy. Often at these events I've seen where food trucks and or sandwich people will show up and sell you some lunch as well midway. Next up, and variable by climate, but just something to consider, is do you need sunglasses? Do you need layers? What do you need to be wearing that day to be comfortable all day in and out of your vehicle, standing out in the elements? Sunglasses here in Arizona, pretty much a must. Another thing I noticed yesterday, and you may have noticed from the introduction video, my forehead gathered a little bit more sun than I was hoping for. So in the second round of work I did wear a cap You can wear the wide brim caps, baseball cap, whatever. Just try and keep your head covered up if you are in one of these sunnier climates. So yeah, my 4-head come 5-head got a lot more red yesterday. So that about covers it for what you need going into the autocross events in the early going. I'll kind of walk you through some other items here. Obviously, one of the key things you'll see missing, and isn't a requirement, currently it's an SA2015 2015 year of safety as it relates to a helmet. So my big noggin didn't fit in the first helmet I bought online, so maybe the lesson there is don't try and buy a helmet online. I think what your best bet is, and what has worked out for me so far, is most of these organized events have helmets you can borrow. So find a brand that fits you, and then from there, you know, go wild, pick out your own, and I'll be doing that here in the near future. 3 events in, first couple of events, 1, borrowed one. Number 2, thought about trying to rush to get one, didn't feel good about it. Yesterday, just been too busy to get it done. But here in the near future, now I'm committed to staying with autocross and trying to improve my driving and destroying more cones. I definitely would say that the helmet is next on my to-do list. Otherwise, most of the items you see in here are going to be very standard fare, and it's really useful to have these things on hand. Like I said, the other thing to really think about is you're probably going to spend a good couple and a half hours just standing out in the elements, watching other drivers, picking up cones, running around, comfortable shoes. Especially if you have a manual like I do, I wear the thinnest sole shoes I'm comfortable with, which is great for driving. Sucks a little bit when you're standing out there on the tarmac. Maybe you'll be smarter than me and take 2 pairs of shoes, which would be the obvious solution to that problem. But anyway, follow along with the rest of the video. The basic setup is going to be you load your car, go to the event. On site, you'll do a tech inspection, or they'll do a tech inspection of your vehicle. They'll check your tires. It's nothing too crazy that goes on there. Then there'll be a group orientation session. You'll pick your work group, you'll pick what your driving group is, whether you're 1, 2, 3, or however the event is structured. And then you'll just continue to move into the event itself and the driving. And then 2, 3 sessions you should get depending on the event. PCA, at least here in Arizona, and that could be a unique thing, what PCA does is they do 2 runs per driver. 1 morning, 1 afternoon. They do break for lunch for 30 minutes, which is nice. It makes the pacing of the day a little more attractive, a little more appealing to me. But the downside to that, if you want to look at it this way, I think like anything in life, you can find the pros and cons. But what you get to do in the PCA event, at least in Arizona, is you do a scout run, a dry lap, if you will, and then you get into your hot laps as soon as you cross the start-finish line. And then you go for 4 straight laps, and then you're done for that morning run. And then you'll do the same thing again in the afternoon, and you can take your learnings from there. On the STCA event I attended in Milwaukee, that event was one lap at a time, 3 laps per session. And that gives you time to think about the track a little bit more. Again, I'm not good enough at this to know which is the best way to go. Well, I'll quit prattling on. All I will say is this. It's a blast. It seems odd that you would spend 7 hours in return for 10 minutes of driving, but if you want to take your car to that next level, if you want to take your driving ability, your reaction times, your reflexes up, and like I say, push your car a little bit, see what it's like to break loose the wheels. And I don't think it matters what car. I have seen all kinds of car at these events. And even at the Porsche events, I see a lot of non-Porsche vehicles. Anything from Volkswagens all the way to a Porsche GT3 RS, everything in between. And I don't think anybody gets out of their car not smiling. It is just fun to work that steering wheel, work the throttle, and make some noise on it. Well, I'm not going to go on any longer. There's enough video behind here to cover more than I can cover in a few words. All I would say is if you've been thinking about this, go ahead and do it. If you're thinking I don't have the right car, you probably do. Just make sure everything's good. You've got your tire pressures, you've got some nice clean oil in there, your brakes are up to spec, and you'll have a blast. And then if you get hooked on it, maybe then you can start modding your car, buying different cars, whatever that needs to be. But I will tell you, there's nobody that can't benefit from this kind of driving experience. So get out and do it. Thanks a lot, everyone. Enjoy the video.